Hey everyone, I'm Carter Arnold. I am currently a senior fourth year veterinary student here at State. And over the last few years, I have determined that my passion and purpose is food animal medicine. And so today we're going to do a little discussion about the food animal service here at Mississippi State. And so with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Mike Pesato, who is an assistant clinical professor here with us at State in food animal.
Awesome. Thanks, Carter. Yeah, so as Carter said, my name is Dr. Mike Pesato, and I am currently an assistant clinical professor in the food animal medicine and surgery side. So I do both hospital patients and I also go out on the road and I practice herd health medicine and surgery in the field.
Yeah, so what kind of sparked, I guess going back a little bit, what kind of sparked your interest in food animal and what kind of got you to this point?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll give you a little bit of background on myself. So I'm originally from Ohio. I grew up on the coast of Lake Erie in a place called Vermilion, Ohio, a very small town. And I did not actually grow up on a farm. I had no farming experience. I was not kind of in an agricultural based community. We are a small fishing town, if anything. So I did not have any kind of livestock experience. But, something about food animals, about cattle, sheep, goats, kind of drew me in. And I think I kind of attribute it to when I was a little kid growing up in Ohio, there was a lot of county fairs. So I would go to the county fairs with my parents and I would see these young children my age that had cows and sheep and goats. And I would see them kind of, grooming them and fitting them for the show, getting ready to kind of go out in the show arena. And even lying with them in their pens, and I would be so jealous because it's something that I really, really wanted to do. And actually, I begged my parents to let me do 4-H, which they knew nothing about. And my mom even tried really hard to get me enrolled in a 4-H program that was the town over, but we just didn't have any connections to any kind of agriculture. I begged for a cow. I was told that we are not zoned for that kind of thing. And my parents, as much as they wanted to support my dream, they just didn't quite know how. So really where I hit the ground running was when I got to college. And I went to the University of Findlay in Findlay, Ohio, which is a great pre-veterinary animal science school. They had awesome facilities for animal science and animal handling, beautiful barns with everything I ever dreamed of: cows, sheep, goats, pigs. And I got a lot of hands-on experience right out the gates as a first-year college student. And that kind of solidified my mission to go to veterinary school and specialize in food animal practice. So then after college, graduated and came to Mississippi State University. And I really actually fell in love with Mississippi State University as a freshman when I was a freshman at Findlay, due to a meeting that we had where it was introduced to me and the program here at Mississippi State was introduced to me. And I just absolutely fell in love with it. And I went through college, graduated, and came here and loved my time in vet school. Amazing experience. Graduated in 2015 from Mississippi State University. And following that, I actually went up to the University of Pennsylvania, where I did a internship and residency in essentially food animal practice. So my residency and internship were completely field service based. So I was in a truck on the road, working with beef and dairy cattle, sheep, goats, pigs, and the odd alpaca, llama, emu, you name it, I would see it. So I love my time at Penn Vet. It was an amazing experience. I was able to get board certified with the American Board of Veterinary Practitioners with specialization in food animal practice. And I stuck around at Penn Vet for 2 additional years following the conclusion of my residency, doing, again, all field service ambulatory work. Really kind of found out during my time at Penn that I love teaching. I love being an educator, working with students. And following my 2 years at Penn, I had the opportunity to come back to Mississippi State. So last August, I came back and joined the faculty here at Mississippi State University and have had the pleasure of being here for the past year and working towards kind of providing opportunities for educating our students and working with the already great educational opportunities that are in place here at the university.
And I can attest, I feel like the food animal service has exponentially grown since you've gotten here.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. But kind of going back to what you said, you didn't grow up with food animals. I did. So there's 2 very different paths. You don't necessarily have to grow up with food animals to become interested and pursue it as your passion. So So what would you say for those who don't have experience with food animals?
What I would say to anyone who's interested in pursuing a career in maybe an area of veterinary medicine that they don't feel that they had a lot of experience with as a child, I would say, gain as much experience in that section, whether it be shelter medicine or food animal practice or wildlife zoology, zoological medicine. A lot of us don't necessarily have the opportunities growing up to have exposure to those areas. But as you kind of progress through your training, your education, you have more and more opportunities to gain experience with those different types of medicine and different types of practice. I always like to say, you don't have to grow up in a zoo to be a zoo animal veterinarian. So why do you have to grow up on a farm to be a farm animal veterinarian? I think a lot of things are learned behaviors. So it's pretty easy to learn about all the different species you want to work with and learn the lingo and start to identify with the clients. If you have passion for those animals, you should have passion for those clients.
Yeah, exactly. And I grew up showing sheep, so I know there's plenty of opportunities. Even if you can't show yourself, get involved. Somebody will be glad to take you on their farm and show you around. So kind of diving into what we have here at Mississippi State as far as food animal service, can you take us through what a typical day would look like, and then also what a typical day for a student on the service would look like?
A day for me, going through kind of start to finish. So like I said, I do a little bit of in-hospital work, but I also do some ambulatory practice. And where I feel most comfortable is in ambulatory practice. That's ambulatory meaning just going out in the field in your truck to farm calls and being with the producers and the clients and the animals on farm. So for me, I normally get to the university and I check up on what's going on with the university. We're a team on our side of the hospital. So I make sure that my teammates, my other clinicians that I work with that are valuable members of our team are doing all right, that there's nothing I can do to help out, make sure that I'm not leaving them high and dry. Then try to get my students together for the farm call that we have that day. And we typically go all over the state of Mississippi. I've gone to the Mississippi Delta, about 2 hours away. I've gone up to kind of North Mississippi, over into Alabama. I'm licensed in Alabama as well. And we will do whatever farm calls on the docket for the day. So those farm calls can include anything from castrating goats in the field to doing a herd workup, an initial kind of analysis of a herd or flock. Sometimes we get people that call and say, I've been having a lot of issues with my sheep flock. I've been losing a lot of sheep lately. Over the last month, I've lost, 3 or 4 sheep. What can you do to help me? And I'll say, well, I need to come to the farm and we need to do a deep dive kind of into what's going on. So we talk about all of the things from husbandry to nutrition to treatment options that they've kind of instituted on the farm to preventative health care, and talk about all the different steps that the producer has been taking by themselves to try to kind of rectify the problem. And then my students and I can go through, check out the animals and kind of provide options that maybe they were overlooking. We'll do anywhere from 1 to 3 farm calls a day. That doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're in a very rural area, it's a lot of driving. So we can go out, 5 minutes down the road to our sheep facility here on Mississippi State's campus, or we can drive 3 hours to the Mississippi Delta and check out a herd that's been having foot issues, herd that's had some foot issues. So it's very variable, which is what I love about ambulatory practice. What I love about food animal practice in general is that we see a lot of different species, and there could be anything that can happen that day. I'm also very blessed to have the opportunity to work with our campus animals. So we have a herd of goats that we're formulating right now. We have a flock of sheep that I'm really excited that we're able to bring to Mississippi State's campus for teaching, as well as education opportunities like learning how to do laparoscopic artificial insemination. We've also got a hutch calf rearing project. So our university dairy provides us with bull calves that we take care of. The students actually take care of that in the rotation. They take care of a individual hutch calf and raise that little guy from anywhere from 5 days of age to a couple weeks old to about 9 or 10 weeks of age. And I'm really, really happy that I get to kind of be a part of that and take care of those animals on campus and work with the students to help facilitate educational opportunities there. So my job, it depends on the day. It can be really variable on what I do and what I'm involved in. For a typical vet student to go through the food animal rotation, what's really great is they get a lot of hands-on opportunity in our rotation. And I'm sure Carter can kind of attest to that as he's gone through it. When you come through our food animal rotation, you not only get to work on the food animal medicine side, but you also work on the theriogenology or reproductive side. So we have several board certified theriogenologists that specialize in animal reproduction. So you get to do several weeks with our food animal medicine and several weeks on our theriogenology side. You get to work with some amazing clinicians. And what's really great about Mississippi State is our students take a very active role in their learning process. So the students get to take a patient and get to use that work with that patient however long it's in the hospital. That is their patient. They're responsible for that patient's care, for communicating with the doctor, and doing all of the procedures necessary for that patient. So the student comes in, takes care of their patients. We do rounds where we talk about different topics and different situations happening in the hospital. And then, of course, the student goes through the day taking appointments and helping out their classmates, because this is a team work atmosphere. We have to work together as a team. And then at the end of the day, the student does their kind of final treatments and either goes home or sticks around to do the night shift. So we have a student with our facility 24 hours around the clock. Students are really essential to the process of helping keep things going. And like I said, we are a team. So that means our students are an essential part of this team as much as our veterinarians are.
That kind of goes into my next question. We are a 2+2 curriculum. With that being said, I know a lot of people are scared of the 2+2 curriculum being 2 years or 3 years in some situations of book material being crammed into 2 years. But for me, it's by far and away very advantageous because now I have 2 years of clinical experience. So can you kind of give us how you think that sets us apart from your
Absolutely. Carter has come through and done some what we call advanced clinical rotations with us. And I'll say, hey, Carter, go do this with the third year student and help them out. And come back to me and let me know what you find. Hey, can you go draw blood on this and take it down to the lab? Hey, can you give all these treatments for me and report back and let me know what you think's going on? I think that our 2+2 program is 100% something that sets us apart. When I was looking at applying to veterinary schools, that was something about Mississippi State that really, really, really drew me in. I was from Ohio. I had a home vet school in my state, and I was just floored by the opportunities that Mississippi State provides to the students. It was one of those things that I never knew anything about. Mississippi is not a state that just screams, hey, come here. But I will say our veterinary school and the support of this state for our veterinary school is just hands down an amazing thing. The first 2 years are challenging. You do a lot of didactic learning in those first 2 years. We do start earlier than other vet schools. You come in June of your first year and July of your second year. But I can tell you right now, taking extra time in the summertime to learn, you'll be thankful for it later on when you are getting ready to graduate from a curriculum that just prepares you to be a competent practicing veterinarian. That's something that I personally have experienced as a graduate of Mississippi State and that I've seen time and time again from our students. Fourth year of your curriculum here is so flexible for you to take advantage of all the opportunities that you want. So if you come into vet school and you're like, I found my passion, I want to be a food animal veterinarian. I didn't have the experience in college maybe to kind of ground me. But when you go through our curriculum, you have the opportunity in your third and fourth year to build on that passion that you've developed. Something that is challenging in other curriculum where you only have 1 year of clinical training, and you may not have the time to kind of grow on something that you've discovered later in your career. So I think that our 2+2 program is one of those things that just makes us stand out on a nationwide level. And I think it's unsung.
When I was looking at vet schools to apply for, 2+2 sold me very quickly. Kind of going back to the students who didn't necessarily have experience with food animals, there's a large group of us who don't have interest in pursuing food animals, but it's a required rotation. So what do you think those students can get out of this experience, taking it to like a small animal clinic?
That is a great question. There's so much in veterinary medicine that's extrapolatable. not tracking actually provides our students with a more well-rounded education with a little bit more ability to become unique in the fact that they can take on new challenges that maybe they weren't expecting to see when they graduated from veterinary school. The potbellied pig that walks through the door, for example, of your practice, or the odd chicken that shows up that's a pet. And I think the fact that we don't track allows for our students to be able to kind of, go with the flow and kind of go with the punches when those things come into play. So what do I think students that don't want to do food animal can get out of this rotation? Well, there's so much that, like I said, can be extrapolated from tissue handling during surgery to animal handling. A lot of our sheep and goats are about the same size as a medium to large breed dog. So in terms of handling those animals, yes, one of them has one stomach and one of them has 4 compartments to their stomach. But when you're going to hold on to that animal for your classmate to draw blood, it's the same concept. I think, in terms of doing physical exams, a dog's physical exam is not that much different than a ruminant physical exam, a cow, sheep, or goat physical exam. Again, of course, the stomachs make a difference, but in terms of listening to the heart, listening to the lungs, palpating lymph nodes, these are all things that are very extrapolatable between species. Not to mention, every single rotation you go through, you learn how to work better with your classmates. Being able to work with your classmates and your professors that have maybe different experiences, different paths, and learn how to navigate those things. Because as a veterinarian, you will have clients and colleagues with the same kind of differences. And it's really important for you to go through the rotation working with different species, different problems, different maybe situations that you get put into, and know how to handle some of those things. So as a small animal person going through food animal, I always tell my students that come through now, enjoy it. It's different, it's unique. It's something that some people will graduate and never have had the experience of doing that. And you may do something and say, oh, I'll never do this again in my life. But there are things that you'll do that you'll probably look back and say, oh man, I can't believe I'm doing this right now. I can give another parallel. So goats do get bladder stones, and so do cats. And the surgeries to fix them, one of the surgeries called a perineal urethrostomy, is almost the exact same thing. So there's a lot of really, really odd kind of extrapolations that can happen between what happens to small animal practitioners and what happens when you're a food animal or large animal practitioner. So I always encourage my students coming through, enjoy this time that you have, get everything you can out of it. Veterinary medicine is veterinary medicine. So don't go into it being afraid of the new experience and the challenge. Go into it with an open mind and with the confidence that you're going to learn something.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And open mind is huge for even me, because when I first came to vet school, I wanted to do reproduction, theory genealogy work. And then I was like, maybe not, maybe I want to do mixed animal. But then when you find what you love, like I never would have assumed I just wanted to do food animal forever. So like he said, go into every rotation with an open mind, because you never know what's going to happen. And it may take a while. It took me into 3rd year to decide this is what I wanted to do, but go for it. So for those who do want to do food animal, maybe they're getting ready to apply to vet school now or applying this year, what can they do, to make their application look better, to stand out, I guess, if they want to pursue food animal in particular already?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things for me, and I'm on the admissions committee as well, which is kind of a nice, nice benefit here, getting a little inside scoop. What I like to see, if you're going to tell me that you're interested in doing food animal practice, I do want to see that you've had some experience in it. I want to see that you've taken the opportunity to find a clinician to work with that had some mixed animal job or maybe a food animal exclusive practice. I want to see that your animal experience may reflect a little bit of your interests. So for example, obviously when Carter applied, he had his sheep experience, and saying he wanted to do theriogenealogy reproduction and including working with sheep, it made sense because he's had that experience. One of the things that always looks a little kind of odd is if you say you focus your entire application on wanting to work with food animals, and the only experience you've ever had is shelter medicine. Again, you don't need to, I had to drive 45 minutes to the large animal practice that I shadowed at when I was in college, because I didn't grow up in an agricultural area. But the experiences that I got out of that were invaluable. And what I got to see was what the lifestyle, what the pressures, what the challenges and the rewards of being a food animal clinician really were. And so what I want to see my students that want to do food animal doing is gaining some of that valuable experience, whether it be through coursework at your university, shadowing opportunities, or job opportunities in mixed or food animal exclusive practices. I want to see that you start to understand what it's like to be a food animal veterinarian. Again, it's one thing if you decide on this later in your career and decide, hey, I'm going to focus all my efforts as I'm moving through vet school to get more experience. But if you're going to come in with that desire, with that interest, I do want to see that you know what you're getting into, because there's nothing worse than getting into something, getting through the whole process, and then being like, wow, I don't like this. And we don't want to see that. We want our students to go out into practice, into something that they love. We want to see them continue to practice what they love for years and years and years and years. And of course, with that being said, this is a very versatile profession. So if you do decide you don't like it, you can switch it up. I just would hate to see somebody, really put all their time and effort into it for years and then ultimately realize day 3 out of, practice that it's not what they want to do. So keep that in mind as you're preparing to apply to vet school, as you're applying to vet school. Make sure that if you're very, very passionate about something, make sure that your experiences kind of match up with your dream. And that's going to make it more believable and make us kind of see that you understand what you're getting yourself into.
Well, that's all the questions I had. So I'll kind of leave it with you. Any last closing comments or advice for anybody out there looking at this path?
What I encourage all of you to do out there that are interested in becoming veterinarians, first off, when it comes to filling out your application, please be complete. Give us as much information about you as possible. We do want to know, what experiences you've had. If you find that you're leaving a tab on your application empty, ask yourself, why is it empty? See if you can find something to put in there that's related. Utilize our admissions counselors. Here at Mississippi State, we have an amazing admissions team. They will talk to you personally about any questions that you may have. We want to see students have the best ability to get in vet school. And we definitely want to see students that, of course, are interested in all facets of veterinary medicine. But if you're interested in the food animal practice and you have that passion already, please consider applying to Mississippi State. We've got an amazing program here for food animal medicine and surgery, as well as an ambulatory program here. And we have supportive faculty and staff that will kind of help you along the way. And we would love to see your passion kind of join our team. So consider us as an option when you're considering schools to apply to. And I look forward to seeing some of you as students in the future.
Yes, well, thank you everybody for listening, and I hope to hear from you or maybe even see you soon. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you guys. And thank you, Carter. I appreciate your time.